A very good evening to one and all present over here. I, Mrs. Chandni Kundal, on behalf of TIDES team, welcome you all for this very first kickoff session, that is session 0 of ELDP program. Today, it is an immense pleasure for us to host this kickoff session in collaboration with Moonpreneur team. सभागार में मौजूद सभी सम्मानित अतिथियों को हमारे टाइड्स की ओर से सादर नमस्कार. The kickoff session will focus to ignite the spark of innovation and entrepreneurship in the new generation and help the young generation to develop the leadership skills. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to welcome Mr. Azam Ali Khan, CEO TIDES, to share the few words and welcome all the participants which are present over here. Before that, I would like to just say few words about Mr. Azam Ali Khan. So Mr. Azam Ali Khan is a corporate strategy and international business development professional with more than 15 years of experience in managerial, commercial, and financial roles. Mr. Azam Ali Khan is a mentor and a guide for startups and young entrepreneurs, challenging the existing norms of the market with the innovative practices. We welcome you, Mr. Azam Ali Khan, and I give you the hold of the session to welcome all the participants and share your wise words.
Yeah, thanks, Chandni. First of all, it is my privilege to welcome all of you. It's indeed good to see such a good number turning up today for session 0, where people know that we are going to explain the program details and all. To begin with, I must first of all congratulate Day. It is his idea and it is his thought that could bring this whole program into fruition. Day with his firm S2Tech, Fortune Fund, Alok, Sailesh, Riti, Ashutosh, all these people, these are like the builders for this program. And also a very warm welcome to our guests for today, Arjun and Mayank. We hope that we would be learning a lot from your experience, and it is indeed it is great to have you on board today for this session. TIDES at IIT Roorkee have been running many programs like ELDP over the last few years, almost half a decade now. And the intention to run these programs is just one, to create a fertile ground for new ideas to germinate and to support startup ideas from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Today, we are talking about not just India, which is speaking chaste English. We are actually talking about the Bharat, which is solving local issues, which are solving problems which are faced by day-to-day people. And those problems can only be solved if we tap founders and individuals who are facing those issues. They may not be chaste in English, or they may not be very convent educated as I must put it, but they are the ones who are filled with energy. They are the ones who are filled with a lot of new ideas, and programs like these, the ELDP, is a very small effort towards fulfilling that initiative. Sailesh would be speaking about the details, along with Alok, what is going to be in this program over the next 7 or 8 months. But what I can assure you of, that TIDES has lived up to a standard as per the IIT Roorkee, and we will definitely ensure that those qualities are taken care of, and you get what exactly you are expecting from this program while enrolling into it. We also would expect similar kind of sincerity from you, in the sense that you please attend all the sessions, try to make sure that whatever assignments are given during the course of this program, you do it well. And once the program is complete, it is not that it is just a 7 or 8 months long engagement. TIDES will take you up further over years to support you, not just with the guidance, but also with funding, with mentoring, with technical mentoring, whatever you need. So, with all these good words, I welcome all of you, and I hope that we make the best use of this platform over the next few months and engage deeply and try to come up with at least a couple of few good startups. My interaction with Day is that he wants to see multiple Elon Musks from India. I'm sure that this program will definitely create some really good ideas, whether they will be Elon Musk or whether they will be more than that. That time will tell. Maybe it will be a few years down the lane which will decide. But I'm sure that if we do justice to this program, we will be able to see some really good startups coming up from this program. So all the very best, and thank you very much for giving me this time to speak my heart to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azam sir, for giving that wise words to our participants. Now I would like to request Mr. Alok Jain to give the program overview of the ELDP. And before that, I would like to share few words about Mr. Alok Jain. Mr. Alok Jain co-founded Ezidia, a machine learning and crowd-powered e-commerce content solution company. He took his passion for educating young minds to the next level with the inception of Moonpreneur, educating and nurturing young minds to be the future leaders through technical, entrepreneurial, and soft skills. We welcome you, sir, and I request you to share the program overview with all the participants which are present today.
Thanks a lot. So, thanks Chandni. So, मेरा नाम आलोक जैन है. मैं मूनप्रेन्योर का CEO एंड फाउंडर हूँ. और मूनप्रेन्योर परिवार की तरफ से मैं सारे गणमान्य अतिथियों और विद्यार्थियों का स्वागत करता हूँ. So, welcome to the kickoff session of the Entrepreneurship and Leadership Development Program. We are certainly very humbled by this partnership. Thanks a lot, TIDES, IIT Roorkee, Mr. Azam, for the partnership. We are really looking forward to it. This type certainly strengthens our ongoing relationship with various IITs, IIMs, and many other prestigious institutes of India and across the globe. All right, so before I dive in, certainly wanted to say my big thanks to Mr. Dev Vilapati, who is a CEO and president of Astutech and Fortune Funds. He has been our guide and mentor. He is also a sponsor of this program and past several other programs. So thanks a lot, Dave, for your continuous support. And certainly like to say a big thanks to Mr. Azam Ali Khan, CEO of TIDES IIT Roorkee, for all the support. There is a lot goes behind the scene and on the scene to conduct a program like this. So thanks a lot for all the partnership. I also like to say thanks to our esteemed guests, Mr. Arjun Malhotra and Mr. Mayank Tiwari, and really look forward for your session today. So before diving in the program, I'd like to just discuss a couple of quick things. When we think about entrepreneurship, right? And I was talking to Mayank a few days before, and he said like this is pretty much way to life, and that's how we feel it. But really, I mean, what is entrepreneurship? So when we look at the world, right? First, you have to observe the world to make changes, and there are two type of people because we all think. So then they will see good things and they will see not so good things, and people will just think and don't do anything about it. This category is really the thinkers. But somebody when they observe the world and they think like, okay, things could be better, and they take the next step to really make it work, whether they have resources, they might not have money, know-how, but that fire, right, which can really become the guiding body to arrange all the resources to make that change. So that's really all about entrepreneurship. And there cannot be any better time to put this to action, especially in places like India, in current times, the entire world is going south, but India is holding very, very high there when it comes to financial markets, funding, all kind of things. In fact, many of the companies in US now seeking funds from India. Hasn't happened ever. So we are the home of, or India is the home of third largest unicorn already, and there is a pace of new unicorns is accelerating. They are already projecting by 2025 there might be close to 250 unicorns. So I think the entire ecosystem is in our favor. And as I said, like entrepreneurship is really way to life. But if you really want to just go in the corporate sector or job market, Deloitte has published a report. What they are saying by 2030, two-thirds of all the jobs will require soft skills. These are the things which are really, I mean, usually often we see there is a gap which you might not be able to pick up in your undergrad or so. And programs like this, what are being conducted by TIDES or in partnership with TIDES and Moonpreneur, I think we try to bring a piece of it. And we are already in Industry 4.0, and everything revolves around the technology. But what we are also observing that uh, this also is changing the nature of work. So freelancing, gig economy, that becomes prevalent, and a program like this will help you really getting ready for that kind of job market. So with that, uh, I'd love to dive into the program. So it's going to be this is a phase one, and phase one is going to be a 3+1 month program. So the first 3 months are going to be really pitch preparation and all the sessions. And the last 1 month will be really participating in part of semi-final and final and really presenting your pitch to a global jury in the pitch fest. So the program will start on 28th of November. It will have 24 live sessions on 24 topic with industry leaders. These all are instructor-led sessions, and there will be mentoring session every week. We will be bringing a global experts. There will be TEDx speakers. There will be folks from US, India, Canada, other places. And then the pitch fest will commence in April. So each week you will have 3 sessions. The first 2 sessions are going to be the speaker session, where they will be teaching you things like idea sourcing, design thinking. The third session will be session with mentors. So in the first 2 sessions, the speakers will make you aware with the concept. In the third session, it will be really using that concept, putting your 1 slide, 2 slide as your pitch preparation. So by the time you are done with week 9th and 10th, you have full 9 to 10 slides of deck ready. So you are ready to pitch to a potential investor also. So we'll be covering topic like vision and value proposition. There will be several topics under design thinking, TAM. There will be pricing and packaging, critical thinking, competitive analysis. So all kind of session will be there. And in the month 4, this will be really a fun month where you guys will be ready with your pitch deck. You will continue to fine tune. There will be several mock runs. There will be elimination rounds, semi-final. And you will be taking your pitch to social media and try to create that awareness. And in the end, there will be a pitch fest. So really the program is going to be, I'll say, what we see among our students, and we have done this program with in partnership with many IIT, IIMs, and other. These are life transformational program. Sometimes the students who are confused, they do not know how to pursue, what to pursue, come out with a lot of clarity. We have seen students after this program, they have seen multiple job offers and a lot of changes. So now please take full advantage of it. As I said, like we are going to bring a global instructors and subject matter experts to conduct this course. And in terms of benefits, you will be ready after phase 1. And if you go to phase 2, opportunity to take your idea to really a startup. We'll give you a global stage to present your business page to the investors, successful entrepreneurs, and more. you will have a certification of participation from TIDES Business Incubator and Moonpreneur. And for the qualifying teams, there will be incubation support at TIDES Business Incubator, which is hosted at IIT Roorkee. There will be shared services. You will have access of that at subsidized rates. There is a scale of funding available up to 1 crore, and there is a prototyping support of 10 lakhs, and there is a fellowship for 30,000 rupees. So really, to conclude, I'll just say that this course is, or this program is not only going to stimulate your creative minds, but it will also foster entrepreneurial mindset. Of course, the participation is the key. There are going to be a lot of hands-on exercises, breakout rooms, all kind of things are going to happen. Please take full advantage of it. The number one thing when you think about entrepreneurship is really showing up, right? So please make sure you take really wherever possible participate there, and the certification prerequisite will be 75% attendance. So I'll just conclude with this line that please be regular, pull off your socks, and take a plunge. Give your best. Thanks a lot, everyone. Back to you, Chandni.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alok Jain, for giving the brief overview of the program. Now, I would like to request Mr. Dev Villapati to give a keynote address to all the participants, those who have joined today. Before that, I would like to give a brief introduction about Mr. Dev Villapati. So Mr. Dev Villapati founded S2Tech and also established the Fortune Fund to support educational opportunities for children from impoverished families in rural Indian communities. Mr. Dev Villapati's vision is to create 23 Elon Musk in India. Mr. Dev enjoys reading books and taking walks. I welcome you, sir, and I give you the hold of the session.
Thank you, Chandini. Thank you, Ajam, for the wonderful program that you're organizing for the students of IIT Roorkee and the community and the people around IIT Roorkee. You have an amazing institution and the incubation facility in India. And so I'm glad that we got connected, and we also got connected with the Moonpreneur. This Moonpreneur organization, I worked with them for several programs we did together across India, and they will literally take your entrepreneurs to the moon. I mean, that's the power of this program. They will shoot your entrepreneurs to the moon. And so that what I have found with the Moonpreneur is that it's a Silicon Valley based company, and we are bringing the Silicon Valley and the ecosystem, I mean the whole system of Silicon Valley and the methods and the mindset to each and every entrepreneur who is attending this program, to their tablet, to their computer, to their smartphone. So when I came to United States 35 years ago, we didn't have the kind of opportunities that the students today have. If I had to make a call to India at that time, I used to pay $5 per minute. And, if I have to meet somebody, I have to go, if we have to start up a company, we got to go to Silicon Valley and live there and reside there and, absorb all the culture, mindset and all that. But today, the entrepreneurs don't have to come to Silicon Valley. We can take the Silicon Valley to them. And that's our intent, is to take the whole Silicon Valley, their ecosystem and their methods, their mindset to all the entrepreneurs in India, wherever they are, whether they are in the rural areas, urban areas, remote areas. With the kind of technologies available today, that's possible. Elon Musk is, has this Starlink. You can get internet anywhere in the world now. I mean, if they're slowly rolling out, but pretty soon it's going to be available anywhere, whether you're on the sea, whether you're on the aircraft, whether you're on the remote village and all that. Once you have internet, once you have solar, tiles, you get the electricity, and you get connected to the world, and you can solve the problems of the world. Not just the problems in your own neighborhood, but solve the problems of the world. The bigger the problem you solve, the more successful, more impactful person you become. I mean, Elon Musk, why is so successful? Because he wants to sustain the life on the planet Earth. If we have a nuclear weapon war, as Putin was threatening several times, and if he starts a nuclear war, nothing will remain on the planet Earth, nothing. And if we have taken so many millions of years to evolve and become the way we are, and everything will be gone. And what he's trying to do is he wants us to make us interplanetary species. That means we also live on another planet like Mars. And if something happens on the Earth, whether it's a nuclear war or whether it's asteroid that gets hit, if something happens, if we are living on Mars, we can come to Earth and we can rebuild Earth. So that is the big problem he's trying to solve. And the bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the impact you create, and the more rich you become. So what I suggest to you guys is think really big. Sadhguru from Isha Foundation says, we have billions of planets in this world, in this cosmos. So let Elon Musk go to Mars. We should be able to go to Venus. We should be able to go to any other, the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, and we can colonize that. And so we Indians should think beyond our little, villages or towns and try to solve the problems of the world. And today, a YouTuber, I have personally seen today, a YouTuber can make $500,000 sitting at home. You don't have to go to, Silicon Valley to make $500,000 a year. You can, make videos on something that you're passionate about. I give an example of, we have so many spices in India. If somebody, creates a very good YouTube channel for, say, turmeric, there's so many people are interested in turmeric these days, but we don't have the good content and good, interesting content available. If you guys can create some content on just the turmeric or ginger or any of these spices, you have the worldwide population. Or mental health is a huge problem for the people all across the world. People who living in India, they are much more stable. They do yoga, they do meditation, they are very strong. They can set up something on mental health and reach out to the students and the people all over the world, and you can solve the problem. So if you solve the problems that are universal, then you become more impactful, more successful, more rich, and more importantly, you create more jobs. You are not looking for a job, but you are the creator of the job. And if you can create more jobs, we can really help India get out of this poverty and improve the standard of living. And as Sadhguru says, if we are part of the creation, but once you understand the mechanics of life and the universe, you have the power to become a creator. If you have a desire, it will manifest. And my desire is to see that we have 23 Elon Musk from India. Why 23? 60 million people in South Africa created one Elon Musk. India with 1.4 billion people, 23 Elon Musk we can create. If we create 23 Elon Musk, we can go to Venus, we can go to Alpha Centauri, we can go all across the galaxy, we can be on all different planets of this cosmos, and have that kind of dream, have that kind of ambition. Yes, failures happen. Don't get hindered by these failures. Every entrepreneur have to experience at least 2 failures before they are successful. I myself experienced a couple of failures before I started the 3rd company. So you have really wonderful guests, Arjun Malhotra and Mayank, and they will share their experiences. It's a great treat to meet these kind of guests, amazing guests you have. And I don't want to take the thunder from them, but you will hear from them. And just remember, entrepreneurs are problem solvers, and you solve the problems of the world. You become rich, and you make India rich. You make your communities rich, and you create more jobs. And that's the way you go and learn to do more yoga and meditation, be stable, body, mind, and emotion. You can conquer the cosmos. Thank you, and wish you all good luck. Back to you, Chandani.
Thank you very much, sir, for your motivating words. Now, I would like to give a brief introduction about our next speaker, Mr. Arjun Malhotra. Mr. Arjun Malhotra is an Indian entrepreneur, industrialist, and philanthropist. He is a chairman of Board of Vision 2020 and IIT alumni and lead initiative to help IITs raise endowment funds. He is on board of governors of IIT Foundation Kharagpur, Indian School of Business Hyderabad, IIM Udaipur and IIM Shillong. Mr. Arjun Malhotra holds number of awards and honors including Data Quest Lifetime Achievement Award. We welcome you, sir, and I request you to share your experience with all the participants who have joined.
Thank you, Chandni. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your being here. I was asked to share a little bit of my life history. I just wanted to mention I come from a middle class family, like I guess most of you do. My father was in the army. My mother was a doctor, but a teaching medical doctor. So she was in preventive and social medicine. So she wasn't really a clinical doctor. Uh, Fortunately, while my dad was posted all over the country, which is what an army life is, my mother was fixed. And so I ended up initially in Calcutta. I was born and brought up there. And then I came to Delhi for 4 years when my dad left the army and got posted to Delhi. In 1962, he got pulled in for the Chinese war. I don't know how many of you remember that. And my mother got a postdoctoral fellowship at Ford Foundation. So I was sent to a boarding school. And I finally finished at the Doon School in Dehradun. In 1964, I joined IIT Kharagpur to do electronics, 65 to 70. And, like everyone in IIT in those days, my plan was to go overseas. Uh, for whatever reason, I ended up staying in India and joined DCM as a senior management trainee. 5 years in DCM, I was lucky that they decided to get into electronics. And I was one of the few electronics engineers in the company when they took that decision. DCM, by the way, I don't know how many of you, but I guess you know the name, but it used to be a conglomerate in cloth, rayon tire cord, fertilizers, chemicals, food. Rath Vanaspati was their product. So electronics was a small part of their business. Out of the, I guess, out of the 250 crores that their revenue was at that time, and they were the fourth largest company in the country, electronics was 1.7 odd crores. Uh, India was a socialist country in those days. There was something called the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. And DCM, being a large private company, was not allowed to get into new areas. We wanted to get into computers. Microprocessors were just coming out in the mid 70s. DCM decided in their logic that they shouldn't get into it because they'll run afoul of the government. And so 6 of us decided to leave and start what you today know as HCL, Hindustan Computers Limited. It started in my grandmother's Barsati. And, I've got to say, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have any money. And we didn't know what the word entrepreneur didn't exist in those days. In 1975, you were a businessman or you were an employee. That was the way life was. I think in timing was right. The good news was there weren't too many jobs available in India at that time, so we were able to get some of the best people we could find from some of the leading colleges, and basically grew the company on that basis. So I guess all of you know or have heard of HCL. I presume today it's a 250,000 person organization. Now has moved away from hardware. We were originally a hardware company and has moved into services. But I've got to say, at that time, we took out our first commercial computer, 8-bit commercial computer, the same month and year in which Apple took out the Apple One here in Silicon Valley. And in hindsight, when I look back at that, and India being a closed country, uh, I think that was an amazing achievement. We had no idea at that time that that's what it was. But what we also did was build computers that were specific to India. So because we had a lot of power failures in India, and you still have, I guess, power failures at some parts, computers don't behave very well with power failures because to recover from a failure is fairly complicated. And in those days, there weren't too many programmers. And that's a different story. And I'll tell you how we started NIIT also. But basically, we used a truck battery and we built something called a power shut-off auto restart. So if the power failed, the truck battery held all the registers at the point where the computer had stopped. And when the power came back, the computer started from exactly the point where it had stopped. Right. Again, it's something that even today people don't build into their hardware. But we had it because at that time we felt that our buyers were not sophisticated enough or didn't have enough good programmers who could recover from a JCL or whatever you need to do to recover the computer from where it failed, where it stopped when a power failed. Okay, so I just want to bring that up because it was specific to India, and I think we need to design products that are specific to our country. Things have changed today. Today, you see, say, tablets coming from Samsung and Lenovo and Apple, which are made for a different market. They're not really made for rural kids who are doing education or want to do online education in India. We still have the same problems, and we don't have the how should I put it the money, or we don't have the finances to replace it every 2-3 years. We need to get a product that will give us a longer life. We need to get a product that will actually be repairable, and we need to get a product that will, like the old cell phones. I don't know how many of you remember them. We used to have a replaceable battery that you could charge separately, so that if you needed additional battery power, your phone could last longer. I think someone needs to design a tablet that will work that way. And that is what I think our rural market needs. So I'm talking from the area I know and a market I know. But this is something I think, as they mentioned, many of you should be thinking of, because these are problems that you see probably every day. Obviously, sitting at IIT Roorkee, and I've been to Roorkee. I've actually sold hardware, computers to Roorkee University at that time, as it was known, way back in the late 70s, early 80s. So if you come across some old HCL computers somewhere in your godowns in IIT Roorkee now, you'll know who is the one who put it there many, many years ago. I sort of decided, I had retired when I turned 50. I thought, I was traveling a lot. I was out 20 days, maybe 25 days a month, visited parts of India that I'd never seen because the government policy was to start factories at remote areas. I saw more of India when I was selling HCL computers. Went to Madura Courts at Ambasimundaram, to Loyal Textiles at Kovilpatti. Uh, you know, I can name places that you probably never heard of, but there are computers and were computers in all those places that we had placed. When I turned 50, or I was close to turning 50, I thought I'd retire. But before I get to that story, let me take a minute to tell you one of the problems we had was we were selling 200 computers a year. We wanted to expand to 1,000 computers a year. The problem was, where were we going to get 1,000 air conditioners? Where were we going to get 1,000 voltage stabilizers? And where were we going to get 1,000 programmers to run those computers? And that was India in those days. So while the air conditioners and the voltage stabilizers was not a problem with us, we talked to Voltas, etc. For the air conditioners, we talked to some startups to make UPS type devices that we could use. We decided that we need to train people ourselves to be good programmers, because people were giving us certificate without really giving them any training. And so we actually funded one of our employees, Rajendra Pawar, RS Pawar, who now the chairman of NIIT, and started NIIT. And basically, uh, it was the way we funded it is 80% of it was funded by the HCL founders, and 20% was kept for the employees. And I'm sure some of you have heard of NIIT. It is still fairly big. At one time, it was the largest training IT uh, training organization in the country, probably in the world at one time. But yeah, that's basically, once you start something, uh, lots of startups happen. People made stabilizers. I mean, lots of things happen. And of course, I also want to mention it's not that everything was success. As they mentioned, we started believing that we could, once we were successful, we started believing that we could make any product and make it work. And we thought, let's get into point of sale systems. And we actually made an electronic cash register, little realizing that that was a mainly mechanical device with very little electronics. There was electronics. And basically, we had to sell it to Bradma because that wasn't we weren't experts in that area. Mechanical wasn't really our strength. Electronics was our strength. After I retired, I thought my big mistake was I didn't plan my retirement. So I got thrown out of the house and I was told to go work from a business center. You can't, I started interfering in how the house was running, which doesn't work out too well. And so we ended up trying to look at what was going on in the business I understood at that time. I had come to the US in 89 from HCL to start HCL America, which is now HCL Technology. And I realized that we were doing, how should I put it? We were a lower cost vendor, and that's how most people saw Indian IT. And I thought we needed to change that image, and there was an opportunity in trying to be domain specific. That is, don't talk to the IT guy, to CIO, go talk to the business guy, solve the business problem by leveraging technology. And so that's what we did when we started TechSpan and morphed it into Headstrong. And we decided that instead of, you look at multiple company websites, they're $20 million and they claim they're experts in 10 areas. It doesn't make sense, because if you're doing an average of $2 million in an area, how can you be an expert? So we decided to focus on one vertical, this whole thing about diversify and et cetera, et cetera. That's a good strategy at some places, but our model was domain expertise, focus in one area. And we thought the IT industry or the IT services industry would move in that direction. I think my timing was wrong. It's now starting to move there. And we started this way back in 99. So I think we were many years, 20 years off the target. But that's the way the industry is moving. And we grew Headstrong to about 220 million by 2011. We actually focused on the investment banks, capital markets, and that's really all we did. And we were experts in that area. And we were seen as experts in that area by our customers. Our billing rates were higher. And so we ended up selling it to Genpact in 2011 for 550 million. And what I've been doing ever since then is working with startups, specifically in the areas of education and healthcare, trying to leverage technology basically to try and get better outcomes for the economically underprivileged in India. And Magic Software is an edtech company that does exactly that. What we decided in education, or what I decided to do in education, was try and adapt digital content for the learning handicap. whether you're visually handicapped or hearing handicapped or you have ADHD, or there are 101 things that make people handicapped in terms of how they learn. And I thought we would adapt the digital content that is going to be available for them so that they can take advantage of it. Unfortunately, India is not ready for that right now. And while we are working specifically with the government of Delhi, they are saying after 2023, they will start talking to us. The US is a big market. And so we are focused, Magic, while its back office is in Noida, we are focused in, the markets are the US and so-called Western countries, if I use that term. But in healthcare, we are doing a lot of interesting work in India. Again, I'll try and define the problem. So, because as Day said and people mentioned earlier, you have to solve problems. You have to first identify them and then you have to solve them. And you have to find a unique way of solving them. And that's that's the way you've got to think. So I looked at it that every doctor I know in the city is overworked. They work long hours. And forget the rural areas, there are hardly any doctors there. And I thought, why can't I look at where doctors are spending non-patient facing time and see how we can automate that so they spend less time on that and can spend more time with patients. And so the first thing you look at is they write the prescription. So you can automate that, but then you have to set up an electronic health record behind it. And that's what we did initially. And as we did that, we collected a lot of data because India is a high volume place in number of patients. And now what we do is using AI, we are able to, we do triaging for the patient, and we have a non-nurse. You can have any normal person do the triaging. Based on the triaging and the symptoms that the patient has, the system starts asking questions. You answer them, it asks more questions. And at the end of it, it takes out, it does its own diagnosis and provides it in medical jargon to the doctor. And we are seeing that today it's saving doctors 30 to 50% of their time. And as we get feedback through machine learning, through ML, basically, I can update the AI and become more and more efficient, especially in certain disciplines in medicine. And we are hoping that we are able to save doctors 70 to 90% of their time, and so that they can see more patients. Because if you look at it, if I need more doctors and I invest today, it's going to take me 10 years before they become available. And as you're aware, there's not very much investment going on in that area. Whereas the number of people coming into the medical system for healthcare is going up 18%, 12%, depending on how the economy is going. So I just wanted to give that as an example. Of course, it also allows me to do telemedicine because now I can have a remote doctor who doesn't have to spend too much time. He doesn't have to sit in front of a terminal. I can get him to be effective for volume with much less time that they have to dictate or give to get this done. So I just wanted to give that as an example so that as you all come into the real world from your college, you start thinking of some of the real problems that exist. There was a time where I would have said, and I still suggest that people should work for a few years before they become entrepreneurs, because the real world is very different to what you have in college. You must know why people don't pay you on time, how you have to chase payments. I mean, there are lots of those things that you have to learn in the real world before you become a successful entrepreneur. So my recommendation is work for a while, understand how the world works, understand the issues, look for something that you want to change, and then do it. But technology is allowing a lot of young kids straight out of college to do some very amazing things. And so you have a lot of successful people who become entrepreneurs straight out of college, and good for them. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey. I'm like most of you. I come from similar background. Had my parents spent a lot of money on my education, which I think is one of the things that has made a big difference, at least for me. My professors, my teachers, my friends, my colleagues, and I give a lot of credit to my 5 years at IIT Kharagpur and my teachers there for not so much teaching me electronics, but basically teaching me how to think and how to look at problems and try and see how to find solutions. I think that's what engineering teaches you basically. Is if you have a problem with 1,000 variables, how you can identify the 4 or 5 key variables and then sub-optimize the solution from there. That's actually something that'll work. So I leave you with that thought. Thank you. I think I've taken more than my 10 minutes, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So, all the participants that have the questions, you can just raise your hands and we can just unmute you and then you can just ask the questions.
Nishant has raised his hand, so I'm unmuting Nishant right now. Yes, Nishant, you can ask your question.
Actually, I am quite new to this entrepreneurship world, so I want to ask the Arjun sir that what is the most important thing that you see in a entrepreneur? What is the most required thing in an entrepreneur?
So, when I was at IIT Kharagpur, one of the things they used to tell us, they called it Einstein's formula for success. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it said 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And so remember that unless you put in that 99%, there's a lot of hard work that you've got to do. Number one. Number two, I don't think you can have an ego. I guess you can have an ego when you become a Elon Musk or you become a Larry, a big entrepreneur. But when you're starting a company, you make lots of mistakes. And hopefully you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and you listen to them. And when you know you made a mistake, you change that and come back immediately. I think those are the 2, 3 things that you can't have an ego and you've got to work really hard. I think so, it's not that you sit there and suddenly have a great idea and the world comes to your door. It's like, let me tell you, how did HCL get into the services business? How did HCL Technologies start? We were in hardware. We were actually trying to get things ported on our machine when we decided to get out of hardware, and that's a long story by itself. And the people who were doing the porting, everyone decided, or the companies with whom we were doing that, they decided to pay for our engineers who were doing the porting to our multiprocessor machine. And that's really how we got into it. So it was opportunity rather than strategy. So you've got to keep your senses around you. You've got to sense, you might think I have a great idea, I have a great strategy, but invariably when you get to the field, that needs to change or that will change. And you have to be alive to that change and be able to move quickly to accept that you made a mistake, admit it to everyone, and get everyone to look at the new direction. So I think, while the role models you see are people who are successful, to get to that point, I think it's a lot of hard work and basically leave your ego at home. You can't have an ego.
Okay, we have one more question from Anushri to Mr. Arjun. So, what is your views on startups running in huge losses? Is this normal or is this something startups are doing to scale up?
Yeah, it's a mix of both. To me, unless you have a path to profitability, just running losses makes no sense, right? And you see that in Amazon, you see a lot of them that made losses for many years, but they had a path to profitability. And so unless you can see that path to profitability, I don't think making losses makes any sense at all. So people make losses because today they're trying to get eyeballs in today's world. And the assumption is that if I have more eyeballs, tomorrow I'll be able to advertise or do something with them that'll actually generate revenue, right? And you got to remember that the people who fund these people are not idiots. They come from a background that they have a lot of experience, and they obviously have something in mind when they're doing it. There is a certain amount of what we call bhed chal, that something becomes the fashion of the day and valuations go up and people want to fund, like it was AI at one time, it was cloud, it was something else. But just remember, they're not idiots. All these people, they they do what they do because they're good at it. And so you've got to, like I always tell people, when you look at someone who is successful and you laugh about, this guy looks like an idiot, he must have some relative or something like that to get to that point, you're invariably wrong. That person, if you can't see what makes that person successful, it's your limitation, it's your problem, it's not that other person's problem. So you do need to remember that people who fund these companies have a strategy, they have some logic, they just don't fund them because they want to fund them or because they want them to make losses. So I just wanted to keep that in mind, that and if you ever get to a point where you have to raise money, you'll realize how difficult it is to convince people to give you their money. And the other thing I wanted to say is, when you do raise money from a VC or whoever, or from angels, please treat it as if it was your own money. Assume that you had put that money in. Then only will they feel comfortable with you, and then only will you really realize what that money really means. Right? It's no different. It has to be as if you have put your money in to that whatever investment or company you're planning to run or running. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to request our next speaker, Mr. Mayank Tiwari, to share his life story and journey with all the participants who have joined. Before that, I would just like to give a brief introduction about him. Mr. Mayank Tiwari is the founder at Avatar. Prior to Avatar, he was the Chief Portfolio Officer and MD at Private Investment Office. Mr. Mayank has also worked as a director and country head at KKR Capstone. We welcome you, sir, and I would request you to address all the participants who have joined.
So thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to the TIDES team and Moonpreneur team to have me here. Hello, IIT Roorkee. So I know just in terms of a very quick introduction, I am a founder of a very interesting 3D AR company. We're trying to democratize, our vision is literally to democratize 3D and augmented reality. I've now spent about 22 plus years working. Much of that has been as an investor operator, as a management consultant. And before that, I was at Hindustan Lever. So again, I've worn many different hats through my career and have tried my hand at many different things. I'm based out of the Bay Area, where me and my co-founders are hopefully building a very interesting deep tech company to come out of India. Where the journey of Avatar, just in terms of the vision and how we came around to it, is that I think in one way or the other, all of us, the co-founders who were associated with Avatar, we were at some point or the other involved with, on Wall Street. We were all on Wall Street, and we saw the massive amount of money that big tech was investing in getting ready for the platform shift that was about to ensue, which is today we have these smart devices called smartphones, which are flat screens with 2D form factors. And we could see that we were on a journey, especially as soon as Facebook acquired Oculus back in 2012 and 13, that we were on a journey where very soon that 2D form factor would give way to a 3D form factor, and we would all very soon be wearing wearables where the digital web would be superimposed on the physical world around us. And we could see the beginning of that journey. And that's what got us started to thinking about Avatar and then planning that journey. So we've been around now for about 8 odd years. We have 20 plus patents in computer vision and AI. Most of that is, most of the patents, most of the IP is built around what we call photorealism and compression We use a fair amount of open source AI as well, especially with in partnership with Google DeepMind, etc. But again, one other way to describe our journey is to think about how the camera itself has evolved over the last, call it 2 decades or so, where what you first saw is that the first use case for the camera really was just to capture the image, and this has been around for 100 plus years, to what we saw sort of in the early or mid 2000s to early 2010s, which was the advent of the earliest deep learning networks and what was called CNN or convolutional neural networks, where the camera or the AI CV layer behind the camera started doing image recognition, image understanding, and segmentation, etc. To literally at Avatar now we're taking it to the next level where it's not just images anymore, it is actually spatial depth and scene and object manipulation. So think of it as, when I say manipulation, think of it literally as if you were looking through your smartphone or through your wearable, I could literally move a physical couch to one side through the camera and then place a physical object in front of in its place, right? And that's sort of 3D object or scene manipulation, and that's the kind of journey that we are on in trying to democratize 3D and AR. And what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is that the camera and the AI CV layer behind it, and the analogy for that is the human eye and the brain, in many specific use cases is already beginning to surpass the human eye and the human brain. And this is going to continue with sort of, and I'm sure you've been tracking, many of you computer science folks are at least tracking a lot of the progress on deep learning, on diffusion models, as well as generative AI, and you're seeing where the world is headed with this. What we're trying to do is bring this all down to unlocking utilitarian value, because one way to think about all of this is sort of this fantasy metaverse that a lot of companies talk about, but we are not here for that. We are trying to actually unlock utilitarian value. So the so what is very important to us, and what I'm here to present to you today is a use case that at least Avatar has chosen in the field of e-commerce, where we're bringing sort of this power of spatial depth and the user context to pre-purchase discovery or pre-purchase context in e-commerce. And that's sort of the utilitarian value that we're unlocking for many of our enterprise customers who work with us. So just to give you an example, ours is a visual product, so I'm going to keep this presentation somewhat visual and fun. What you see is a typical, what you're seeing is here, what we tend to think of it as the camera is the new homepage, where the search, browse, discover, pretty much the entire catalog is within the camera itself. And what you have is that within the context of your home, you're buying a sofa, and you're able to test out all the different variants of it, drop another sofa right next to it, and see which of those goes well with your environment, with your lighting. You try the different variants of it, and so on and so forth. And so this reimagining the camera is the new homepage, right? And so typically in e-commerce, the homepage is a flat 2D homepage, which is uninspiring, right? And leaves literally there is a lot of cognitive load on us to imagine what something would look like from this 2D image. Typically you see, think about the carousel of images that you see on an Amazon web page, and you actually have the cognitive load of imagining it dikta kaisa hoga, or how will this look? Or if you're in a retail store, again, you have the load of imagining how will this really go with what I already have in my home. And the only way to really bridge this online-offline divide is to bring your context in the middle of that journey, right? So for you to be able to visualize the outcome of a purchase decision before you've made it. And that's really what I mean by calling the camera as the new homepage. And that's what's going to happen, especially as user sophistication goes up with the use of AR, and also the device platform shifts over to a wearable, which should happen by the end of this decade. So we like to think of ourselves as a contextual reality company and not less an augmented reality company. And the context being the user's context really here. The user context could be a look and fit evaluation in the case of a piece of furniture, or in the case of a piece of electronics like this smart TV, it could be very much around feature discovery. So depending on the category codes, we can design the contextual reality or the interactivity for that. Here, I'm going to show you another use case, which we work with a number of our clients, including Amazon on, which is a mix and match use case. So you see, what I'm trying to do is literally clean out my home as a blank slate and then imagine what a new, let's say, a new coffee table would look like in the place of my existing coffee table, right? Or what a couch or let's say even throw a rug in its place and literally reimagine what my home environment looks like and be able to literally be a designer for my home as well, right? And so what we've seen is, and I'll show you some of the results later, what we've seen is that this not only turbocharges conversions or digital conversions, because one thing as a human psychology aside is that 60% of our brain is wired to perceive vision, right? That's how powerful vision is to us, and spatial reality or spatial depth is to us. Just bringing in that element of 3D turbocharges the conviction or the confidence that consumers have on making a purchase decision. And so a lot of it is about that. And it's with that, and it's driving that confidence that is driving conversions we've seen so far, and it's still early days, of 3x plus or 200% higher conversions in e-commerce contexts. And we are seeing about close to 4 to 5 minutes of engagement time, and then an average order value increase of 2.5 times and above by bringing in sort of this into the e-commerce context. We're not just limited to, by the way, digital commerce journeys. So we're also taking it to stores. So think of a simple journey where you don't have a salesman around, happens a lot in today's broken retail environment. And you could just simply invoke comparing similar products or trying a different color, which may or may not be in the inventory, right? So the store is going to have a limited inventory, but there is no reason why that should limit the inventory or the digital inventory that is available to you on your fingertips. So literally what we're saying is that you could invoke the entire, in retail, what's called the infinite aisle. So think of having, even though you may have 5 washing machines on the floor, you can actually look at all the 500 or evaluate all the 500 washing machines that the digital catalog may carry. And again, it's a massive problem in America right now. Most of our market is in the US. It's a massive problem in the US right now because of the great resignation. A lot of retail stores are empty and you just don't have anyone else to ask for help. So again, we're bringing some of these use cases. I'm going to skip past some of these other use cases. There are, maybe just quickly touch upon this. There are also Oculus based or quote unquote metaverse enabled use cases as well, where you're transported into a virtual environment either through your smartphone or through an Oculus type device, where again you could do this mix and match journey in a very aspirational setting. So a lot of, let's say, furniture players or home improvement players like to set the context of their products in the background, which is very aspirational, because that aspiration drives the imagination for consumers. So again, think of this as a mix and match use case, but not in an augmented world in the user's home, but in an actually in a virtual aspirational sort of backdrop. So this is something else that's that we're driving. So physically led digital transactions, which is what we do in the store, are here to stay. Why does all of this matter? And this is what I was talking about. That ultimately, as you baseline 1x conversion uplift to static 2D images, what our platform is able to drive by bringing all of this together is about 3.5 times in conversion lifts across different categories. And you're also getting an average sort of engagement time of 4 minutes. And that's what's driving conversions, etc. The one other quick thing I'll show you, which is very interesting, again, we're the first company in the world to have a product, an AI product, which already has been democratized, is there are two, please understand there are two sides of the commerce equation. One is obviously the consumer facing side, where the rendering platform embeds in the client's front end to give their users in real time all the augmented information that's needed. And and all of this is distributed computing. So it's on the edge device, on the smartphone, or the wearable, where this is happening as a session in real time. But the precursor to that is actually converting this intractable problem of converting the trillions and trillions of images that exist today 2D into 3D, right? And without you need to convert this massive catalog of images into a 3D catalog, which before our platform came along, the only way to do that was through 3D software such as Maya and Max, which takes there's a limited number of 3D artists in the world, and the Hollywood CAD/CAM way of doing 3D is to literally take days and weeks to convert any 2D object into 3D. So again, I'm going to quickly skip through this, but what we've come up with is a platform which now is embedded again in many seller services for our, and we use something called the NERF. And again, some of the computer science folks here may be aware of neural radiance fields. But where the first neural radiance fields or NERF platform combined with a diffusion GAN model to take 2D inputs, both videos and images as an input, and then be able to spit out both an implicit render as well as a mesh output, and then be able to, on top of it, add editing capabilities so that you can produce 3D and then also edit it in the way that you want it, changing colors, changing skin types, etc., and then directly link it to any e-commerce journey that you may have. It's surface agnostic, and it's amazing for me, who's a non-technical person, to see how this algorithm has evolved just in the last 18 months or so. Just the sheer progress it has made in terms of being surface agnostic. This, by the way, this teddy bear and getting all the surface nuances of this takes 3D artists with a physical 3D software weeks to build, right? And we can spit this out in literally a matter of minutes. Again, works across different categories and is surface agnostic, as I said. Let me take a pause there. I've already used up way more than my 10 minutes, but hopefully you got a glimpse into the exciting journey that we've been on. We today work with multiple large e-commerce players. Amazon is our biggest and oldest client. We're not on their India platform yet. Most of our work is in the US. We work with Lowe's, we work with Home Depot, we work with Best Buy, we work with Crate and Barrel, we work with, who am I missing? Nike, we work with Target. So some of the biggest enterprise retail names in the US, and we're helping them hopefully revolutionize the way visual discovery in e-commerce happens. And I've been fortunate and proud to be a part of this journey. Thank you. Thank you for patiently listening to that. I'm happy to take any questions on my career, my journey as an entrepreneur, about Avatar, any of those. Again, if we have the time, I'll let the organizing team decide.
Thank you very much, sir. So we can take few questions. We have a question from Amit. Sir, what's your advice for entrepreneur who just starting right after college?
So you're seeking advice from someone who did not start after college, as you can imagine. I literally started thinking about entrepreneurship at 40, right? So it was literally for me a midlife crisis, that I was a middle class boy whose aspiration was to go and work for the best companies possible, and I checked off all the boxes and then started out at entrepreneurship. I think to me the most fundamental thing about entrepreneurship is that it must speak to you from your heart. It cannot be something that is fashionable. It cannot be something you're doing to look good in the eyes of others. If you're not obsessed with an idea, entrepreneurship is too hard a journey to undertake, because it requires a level of energy and obsession that is needed to keep you going on bad days, because the journey is going to be very tough. 99% of startups fail, right? You all know that. Startup mortality is a reality. And so knowing that there is a 99% probability that you will fail, to still commit yourself to something for 5 to 7 years takes a lot of passion, right? And so therefore you have to be obsessed, truly consumed. It has to feel like, I have to build this. If I don't build this, I will just never be able to forgive myself. Yeah, and if it's not striking you in the gut like that, there's just no point. I'd rather go work somewhere with great people, get some technical skills, get some real world understanding, and then come back to entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship is, I'm trying to make it sound like magical pixie fairy dust and all of that. It's not that, but I can tell you that the journey is really hard. And even us getting to a Series B stage where we are now with Sequoia and Tiger behind us, and we are amongst the largest funded AR companies in the world. We are supremely fortunate, right? And in this world, unfortunately, victors or winners write the stories. But don't be fooled by the randomness of a few startups succeeding. It is a really tough journey. So my advice to people starting out would be, don't do it for fashion. Don't do it to look really cool to your family or to your girlfriend or boyfriend or to your classmates. Do it when it truly strikes you in the gut. That would be my number one advice. Of course, I have a lot of other advice, and I'm happy to, if you connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email about specific questions about when should you raise funding, when should you have seats. Like, there are also a lot of aspects of the logistics of it, but I just want to stick to the bigger message here that I want to leave behind.
No, that's awesome, Mayank. And all the participants, if you have a specific question for Mr. Arjun or Mr. Mayank or anybody, just call out their name. If you don't put the name, then we'll just back to you, Chandni. I think there are some questions for Mr. Arjun as well.
So any of the participants, those who have questions, they can just raise their hands.
So there are questions on the chat box.
Yes,
I'll call
yes.
out that, and then in meanwhile, you guys can find out. So there is a question from Mr.
Yes.
Arjun. The question is really about what should be of more importance for an entrepreneur in the beginning of his or her startup journey, and the goal for reaching some height, or the objective with which the journey got started. So basically, is the goal more important or objective why you started the journey? I think there is subtle difference, but Mr. Arjun, I hope you got the question.
I'm not sure I got it, but I think I'll agree with what was said earlier, that you got to have passion if you're going to start something. Without passion, please don't start a company. And basically, obviously, you do have a goal when you start, and the goal might be crazy. It's like, I know when we started HCL, we wanted to do 100 crores. And why 100 crores? Because DCM fertilizer plant in Kota, all of us came out of DCM, was doing 100 crores and was their most profitable unit. And so if you ask me what is the logic of 100 crores, there was no logic. It was just that was the dream when you started. And I think everyone has to start. You have to obviously have a goal, a dream. But the key is to take that initial decision, right? The goal or dream is something you start believing it in once you take that decision. I think the key is, as all of you are engineers, I guess, and so you know something called work function, that the energy required by an electron to break away from the orbit, it's in an atom. You need that work function, you need that amount of energy to start. So I think the key is to start. Taking that decision and actually starting is probably the more important step, I guess, if I use that term, but you do have to have a dream.
I think that's wonderful to hear.
Yes, sir. I have Siddharth over here with us, a participant, and he wants to ask a question. Siddharth, you can now unmute and ask, please.
Yeah, thank you, Riti, for giving me opportunity. So I'm Professor Siddharth Khare from IIT Roorkee, and I have just recently incubated my company under TIDES incubation program, and I'm very glad that this platform is giving opportunity to people like us who are new to this domain. We will learn a lot of things. So my question is to Mr. Mayank Tiwari, is that because he mentioned that with camera we can solve a lot of problems these days. So my startup is also basically in this direction, but we are solving the problems of farmers, and we are utilizing the potential of different camera system, and by using the mobile phones and by using the satellite and drones. So because you mentioned that it's very hard to become entrepreneur, it's not that easy task. So what is your advice to the people who are coming to the agri-tech domain and opening their startups, and how to basically understand the scenario of the current market and then take up forward their startup in this direction? It would be great if you can give us some insight related to that.
Yeah, look, again, without the specific knowledge of the domain and the exact use case that you're solving, and again, we can have an offline conversation. I'm very, very happy to help, Siddharth. But I would just say that, look, the first few years of any startup journey look like finding a product market fit, right? And it means that whatever you're building, which may be an idea in your head, it may be a fantasy or something you perceive wrong with the world. But does that really have any semblance of a reality check insofar as the real world is concerned, right? So you have a product idea in mind, but is there a market for it? Does somebody actually see value in it, right? And will somebody pay for it? So that finding that product market fit is where all the initial tinkering, ideation, innovation, the sleepless hours, and the candlelight and burning the midnight oil goes. And so, because once you've crossed that hurdle of product market fit, if you find even a small kernel or a test market where you can prove the concept, raising capital, attracting great people to come and join you, and then what Reid Hoffman calls blitz scaling becomes a lot easier because then you know you have a cookie cutter which you can scale. But it's in finding that initial product market fit is where most companies fail, right? So if you just look at one of the ways to understand sort of why is it that 99% of startups fail, right? Or why is startup mortality the way that it is? There are 2 or 3 reasons, but the biggest reason, if you ask any venture capitalist or most seed stage investors as well, and ask failed entrepreneurs that why did this startup not work? Most of them will tell you product market fit nahi mila, or we couldn't find. We had a great idea, but the market for it wasn't either ready. We were either too early or too late, or there was just not enough of a profit pool there, or the buyer saw some value but not a lot of value in it, right? And it's finding that takes up time. So I would say be obsessed, other than the idea itself, be obsessed with product market fit. You find product market fit, baby steps are to find proof of concept, product market fit, and then keep raising money, keep building the team at the right sort of stages. And then at some stage, you will know that you're ready to hit escape velocity, right? And so, but in the initial 2 or 3 years, finding PMF is everything. Nothing can work without that, right? Even more important than building your team. Of course, attracting great talent is the second biggest thing, but from an entrepreneur's perspective, PMF is everything.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Mayank, for this.
Gaurang, hi, thank you, sir. Gaurang is also asking a question. Do you think technical skills are mandatory to become an entrepreneur? This is to Mayank, sir.
I don't believe so. I think that technical proficiency for technical startups, right? So, for example, ours is a deep tech startup. So, if you don't have basic appreciation for maths or basic appreciation for, to even have some understanding of what a deep learning algorithm does, you do need. So our startup is one where a little bit of technical proficiency is needed. But look at the startups that have succeeded in India, right? Ed tech, consumer tech, etc. Many of them were built by non-engineers. What you do need is obsession with the customer, right? You need to be solving a real problem, right? A Swiggy can be built by a non-engineer. You don't need to be an engineer to build a Swiggy, because you can attract a great team. But what you're solving for needs to be a real problem. So many, and there are countless examples of non-technical founders who have sufficient technical understanding of grasp. But more than that, what they have is consumer obsession and a customer grasp, which cannot be that empathy or EQ or understanding of the customer or consumer cannot be replaced by anything, right? You can build, typically that's why you have co-founding teams, which are 2 or 3 co-founders, which have complementary skills. You of course need trust and understanding and chemistry, but you need complementary skills. And that's why you'll typically see a CEO who's more the vision guy and who's raising money. You'll see a COO who's more the in the weeds person driving the operational side of the business. And then you have a CTO or engineering or technology co-founder who is the engineer, right? Initial stages, you don't need a product person, but over a period of time, you do need a CPO. Initially, the founders can be product people. But that's why I think a well-balanced well-balanced founding team. All the three co-founders or all the two co-founders do not need to be technical. I hope that answers your question in the way that you were asking it. That's my point of view. I am not a technical person, by the way. I spent all my life in brick and mortar. I did computer science engineering some 23 years ago. I don't remember anything about it. So I'm not a technical person at all. I'm a business guy. I'm a commercial person who understands commerce really well.
Thank you, sir. Participant, we have Vidisha with us, and she's again asking a question. Vidisha, now you can ask your question, please.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for this meeting. I want to raise this question for Arjun sir as well as Mayank sir. So I'm working on a product which is research based, and I know the market also has a great value to it. But for a research based product, you need funding for it to get. For a proof of concept, and for funding, we need a proof of concept, and the proof of concept has to be really good for the funders to really fund us. So how should we proceed with a startup or a product where it's at a research stage and where it needs the funding? How should we go for the situation?
Please, after you, sir. Why don't you perhaps lead the way?
So actually what happens is if you're going to do research, you really don't know if your product is viable or not viable. You don't know which market it's going to. So that's where universities play a big role. You need to get to a university, either give it to them as a project or get them to write up a project proposal and get that project done. That's if it's at that research stage itself. If you've already got a market fit and you're doing the research just to uh, decide how good or bad the fit is or what your consumer acquisition strategy is going to be like or whatever, that again should be done on, you've got to, how do I put it? Not everything gets funded. Some parts have to be, you have to get it done yourself before you can go to someone to get it funded. So I think, unless I know the exact details, it's very difficult to give a comment. But at a high level, that's what I would suggest. Either a university does the research, and that's what happens at a lot of places. It's starting to happen in India now. And as you know, Siddharth mentioned, he's a professor, so I presume he's taken some work that they've done at the institute where he is and tried to see how they can take it to market. I think that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to get, to bootstrap it yourself, get it to a point where it's viable, you have a plan, you know how to acquire your customers, et cetera, and then look for angels to take it to the next stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I think the one thing that I've learned the hard way is, and so have my co-founders and a lot of other founding friends that I have, is to be very, very focused on. We often tend to overestimate how much money we need, right? And we try. There is sort of this scarcity. It's this insecurity that we have in our mind about that we should always raise more than we need. But if you end up being successful, raising too much money is going to hurt you because A, you will lose control of the company, and B, you'll just dilute way too much. So the only thing I'll add to what Mr. Arjun said was that be very mindful of how much money you're raising and who you're raising from. Being a research-driven startup, part of it is the university angle. The other is you need to understand your target audience insofar as investors are concerned really well. There are some very, very solid research-driven investors, and there's not only just the world of VCs in India, right? You can count the number of top five or six early stage investors, the top 5 or 6 growth stage investors, but don't forget that there is also the Microsofts and Googles of the world who are also there and provide seed funding to anything that's additive to their cause, right? So you can also think about where if you were to be successful, where would be the right home for this product? And so and strategic VC or corporate VC, especially big tech corporate VC, mid tech corporate VC, has become very active in India. So definitely tap into a broader set of funding than other than just thinking about Sequoia or Matrix or whatever. There's much larger universe. There are more than 200 active investors in India now. So I also can't overstate the importance of a friends and family round. You will be surprised how much, if you have the energy and passion, people believe in other people, right? At that earlier stage, you're just, frankly, just investing in a person you believe is going to go on and do great things. You're looking at someone who has hustle and energy and true passion. And so the initial money can come to you, especially if you're not if you're not raising $5 million right away, you're raising something reasonable. The initial money can also come from friends and family, and who frankly are not going to give you very onerous term sheets. In fact, you can dictate the terms and all. So I would say tap into all kinds of networks, see where the best, who the right audience is for you. Don't raise more than you need to. And I'm sure that just with those a few basic principles, you should be able to do a good job. If you have a compelling product, look, the one thing I can tell you, right, if you just take a step back, one thing I can tell you is that the sheer amount of dry powder sitting in India now or targeted in India now, it has never, this is a golden age for entrepreneurship in India, right? This is where Silicon Valley was back after the dot-com bust in 2003, 2004. That's what India today feels to me to be like. There has never been a better time. And if you are a half-decent person with a half-decent pedigree and a half-decent idea for the hustle and passion, raising early-stage capital has never been easy. I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but trust me, if you have passion and if you have a good idea and you have the research to support it, you will find an investor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are going to take few more as the time is, very pressing. So I'm Vineet Rai. You can please ask your question.
Good evening, all these speakers. Sir, my question is to Mr. Arjun, and it is based on the applications that we need for any startup. So, sir, my question is, all these computer science guys, all the techie guys, or the other ones are good at developing a code or writing down the app. But what about if I'm not able to write an app or run a code? So can we go for a third-party person or third-party vendor who can provide us the app? Or we should stick to the core team who will be building the app or writing down the code, sir?
It all depends how critical that app is for whatever you're doing. If it's the core part of your business, then it's best to try and keep it in-house. Or to make sure that if you get it developed by a third party, that that code doesn't leak out to someone else, or someone else can't take parts of that code and reuse it. But that's a decision that you've got to take depending on the quality of your in-house people and what you need done. I mean, until you get a little more specific on what it is, it becomes difficult. But if the app is a key part of your business, it's always good to have full control over it. But there are instances where you do go with an outside party who may have very good expertise in that area and who is not going to steal your code.
Thank you, sir. I hope it answers any question.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chandni.
Riti, I think we should take maybe one or two more questions and release our guest. And everybody, we are going to be here to answer any other question about program. So please stay. We are going to spend as much time as you need. But I'd like to release our guest. So Riti, maybe allow two more questions. And
before that, we have Mr. Shailesh Malhotra to give the vote of thanks also to all the respected dignitaries who have joined.
So we'll do that after that, Chandni. Let's have last two questions so that we can let Mr. Arjun and Mayank go. And the time is very, very valuable. And we really appreciate both of you staying for so long. Thank you so much. Let's take last couple of questions.
Okay, just let me have a look. So yes, Somesh, we have Somesh with us, and Somesh, you can ask a question.
Hi, sir. A very good evening to everyone. So my question is to for Mr. Arjun. Sir, you have seen the development and transformation of cities like Bangalore to become the IT hub and Silicon Valley of India from, and the cities which are transforming currently, like I'll say the tier 2 cities, and there are some cities which are already done that, Pune, Noida, and every other. So what do you think are the issues which tier 2 and tier 3 cities might be facing due to that's the reason they are lacking in this fast-paced world in becoming the technology hub or any other hub for that matter, and how we as an entrepreneur can find that gap and fill it, because I feel the opportunity lies there as well as much as it lies in the tier 1 cities of India.
So that's a good question, and that expansion will happen because the costs of real estate in the big cities is becoming is becoming very high. B, the infrastructure that you have in the big cities is not keeping pace with the growth. And so, if I look at a tier 2 city, first thing is the ones that have technical colleges or industry goes to where the raw material is available. The raw material in this whole IT business is people or trained people. And wherever those people are available, industry will move in that direction. So I think if you look at it, look at all the support stuff that is needed. So I believe the numbers are for every IT engineer, there are 7 jobs created outside of to support that particular engineer. So look at where those 7 jobs are and see what you can do to provide something for them. I mean, it goes all the way from providing them lunch where they're working to whatever else is needed. I have a cousin in Bangalore who runs an organization called I think Concierge Club is what she calls it, and she started by having a help desk in every Wipro office with 600 people or any other of those offices that have 3, 4, 5, 700 people. And initially, all she was doing was getting them a train ticket or getting them a movie ticket and charging a 10 rupee fee for doing that service. Today, she's expanded to providing all the tea and coffee, giving them housing loans, doing insurance. And I believe a couple of years ago, Manpower picked up 25% or some 40% of her company. And it's a simple business when you think of it. All you're doing is providing convenience to people in that office. American Express used to do travel, and that's all they focused on. But someone took that whole idea and moved it beyond travel to a number of other things. So there are lots of things you can do. You have to look at what is required, what is not available, and how you can provide it more effectively and efficiently than anyone else. But efficiency is not the only thing that will keep you going. At some stage, you also have to have some barrier to entry for other people, something that's unique that you do, or grow to a size where it's very difficult for someone else to come in. It's a big problem. There are lots of cities in India. So if you want to do something like that, you'll have to make a big splash all over the country and choose the cities where you want to go. But it is going to happen. Magic itself is looking at going to multiple cities. So it is happening because people are not available and infrastructure, especially traffic in big cities, is becoming a real problem. The other thing I want to mention is there has to be a social life. To retain these people in that city, you have to have a social life. I mean, I did my engineering at a place called Kharagpur, where there's very little other than what you do on campus. And one of the things we know that if we want Kharagpur to survive, I have to build industry around it. I have to build commerce around it, which will automatically bring social and other stuff for people to want to stay there. Otherwise, you'll just go do your college and go away to some other place.
Thank you, sir, for your answer.
Thank you very much, sir.
Let's take one last question if there's anybody, and then I think.
Students, participants, we have last chance. So if anyone has got one question, either you can raise your hand or type it in the chat box. This is the last question that I will be taking for today's session. Narayan, you are now can ask the question.
Hello, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to ask question. Sir, my question is to how to find the total addressable market value of a product, because मेरे साथ कुछ प्रॉब्लम ये हो जाती है सर कि मैं सोचता हूँ कि कुछ मैं प्रोडक्ट या प्रोडक्ट बनाऊं और फिर पता चलता है कि प्रोडक्ट बनाने के बाद 1-2 महीना 6 महीना टाइम देने के बाद कि उसका मार्केट ही उतना बड़ा नहीं था कि मैं उसको सेल करके उससे उतना रेवेन्यू निकाल पाऊं।
आप इसको उल्टा देख रहे हैं, पहले आप मार्केट को देखिए फिर प्रोडक्ट बनाइए। आप पहले देखिए मार्केट में क्या प्रोडक्ट की जरूरत है और कितना बड़ा मार्केट है, फिर आप प्रोडक्ट बनाइए। आप प्रोडक्ट पहले बना रहे हैं, मार्केट को देखने के बगैर तो कौन लेगा।
And Narayan, I know there is one specific session just on TAM. तो आप जब ये प्रोग्राम ज्वाइन करेंगे ना तो टारगेट एड्रेसेबल मार्केट पे एक पूरा सेशन होगा आपके लिए।
जी सर।
Chandni, yes, I will take 1 more minute from you and then you can just carry forward. So students, you can all those student participants जिनके questions हैं जो अभी तक आंसर नहीं किए गए जा चुके हैं, आप प्लीज उनको chat पे टाइप कर दीजिए. We will make note of that and we'll try to help you with the answers. We'll share it over mail or we'll try to reach out to you and help you with the answers. So that is my input for that. Thanks, Chandni. You can take from here.
Thank you very much, Riti. Now I would like to request Mr. Shailesh Malhotra, Managing Director, Moonpreneur, to close the session and say a vote of thanks to all the respected members who have joined.
Thank you so much, Janni. And I think first and foremost, thank you to all the students for such an energy-filled session, and the way the questions were coming showed how excited everybody is. And without Mr. Arjun and Mayank engaging in such a lively manner, that wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much, Arjun and Mayank. It was extraordinary. And Mr. Day for giving opportunity to all these students to come into this program by sponsoring it, and Azam helping us to connect with TIDES and really bring this program. And not the least, special thanks to Chandani and Riti and team who have worked behind the scenes. It's not easy to put this program, especially in a virtual mode, and get this kind of engagement going. And so Riti and Chandani and team, I think you were fabulous, and thank you so much for doing it. And I'm really looking forward to the kickoff of this program, which is going to happen very soon, and looking forward to seeing all the students and all the participants on the sessions, and very soon to hearing their pitches in the Pitch Fest, which will happen very soon. So thank you, everyone, and have a very good evening. Thank you.
Students, as I said, we are going to be here for a few more minutes. So we are happy to answer if there are questions about the program, anything. We will send the schedule, and there are sessions, so many of the questions will be answered there, but anything specific to program, if it is not covered, we'd like to answer those. So Riti, I think several folks have still raised their hands. If we can.
Yeah, I think I
Yes,
saw
sir.
one question, which is, can you share the schedule of the sessions? That will be shared with you by Riti and Chandni. You will get it in your email.
Nitin, if you have some question, you can ask regarding the program, definitely. I think so Nitin is having some issue with his mic, so therefore he is not able to put up his question. Yes, Siddharth, just give me a second. I'm unmuting you so that you can ask your question. Yes, Siddharth, you can ask.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, can my team attend this session? Because I may not be available throughout the session. So, like, can my students or my interns, are they allowed to attend this session? So there are different lectures related to that.
So Chandni, do you want to take that question?
You have enrolled as a team member, so then you can allow your interns to join.
Okay.
Because there was an option to enroll as a teammates. So it's fine.
Hi friends, the email ID is on the chat box. It's tides@iitr.ac.in. So you can definitely reach out at this particular email ID, and Chandni and I would be ready to help you in a best. and time committed format that we will try our level best.
All right, Riti. So it seems like there are no other questions, and everybody really, it was a thrilling session. Thanks a lot. Very, very engaged audience, and I look forward working with all of you.
Yes, Chandni, we will be sharing the timetable with you. Everything will be shared with you within a week or two, and you can see everything on your inbox. Yes, sir. Thank you, Alok sir.